Hey, I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary?
Randall. This chapter is inspired by a true story from Elsie Bannon. I work in a hospital. I won't say which for obvious privacy reasons. The hospital is old, very old. It was built in the early 1800s, first serving as a post office, then abandoned for a while before it was turned into a hospital for veterans in the 1920s. Despite having worked there for about 5 months, I felt like the rest of the staff was always sort of cold to me. Whenever I'd try to strike up some small talk, they'd smile and walk away. But not everyone is like that. There's another nurse, Cassandra, who I get along with really well. "Don't worry about them, they're just cranky from the night shifts," she'd say. Cassandra is really into ghost stories. I'm a Christian, so I didn't believe in any of her tales, but I'd like to listen to them. She was a really good storyteller. She told me about some unbelievable stuff that happened to her as a kid. "Yeah, I see spirits all the time. I've sort of gotten used to it." "All the time, huh? So even right now?" I asked, jokingly. Cassandra paused, then chuckled. She never answered my question. A couple weeks ago, Cassandra and I were working the day shift. Visiting hours had just ended, and I was making my usual rounds, checking on all the patients. I heard muttering behind me. I turned to see some of the staff looking at me, strangely. Seriously, what is their problem with me? I thought to myself. But I ignored them, like I always do. About an hour later, I was notified that a patient had died. I was tasked with delivering the body down to the morgue in the basement. It would be my first time going down there. Cassandra had once told me that the basement was the oldest part of the building, the only part that was never renovated. "Be careful down there," she said. I thought she was just trying to scare me. But I had nothing to be afraid of. A police officer would always escort nurses and bodies down to the basement to ensure that the body wasn't disturbed in any way. So the policeman, the dead body, and I stepped into the elevator from the 6th floor. I pressed the button for the basement and we began to descend. We stopped momentarily and began to move again. But when the doors opened, we found ourselves back on the 6th floor. I pressed the button for the basement again, and the exact same thing happened. As if the elevator didn't want us to go down there. "Are you trying to play a prank?" he said, accusingly. After countless tries, the elevator continued to act up, so we had no choice but to take the ramp all the way down. Once we reached the basement level, it was very clear how untouched this floor was. The original brick walls remained, with pipes jutting out every few feet. The hanging lights were dirty and flickering. It was definitely cold and creepy down there, but that's just because it was old. We dropped the body off at the morgue and began to walk back up the ramp. I was a few paces ahead of the policeman. Suddenly, I heard him say,
"Elsie."
I stopped and turned to look at him. He just stared at me. "What? Didn't you just say my name?" "I didn't say anything." "Oh, maybe it was the pipes or something." We continued walking, and I heard my name again.
"Elsie!"
Just as I turned around, the policeman screamed in pain as he fell face first onto the floor. I rushed over to him to help him up. Something in the corner of my eye moved, and I looked up just in time to see a dark, shadowy mass disappear into the wall. I looked at the policeman. He had definitely seen it too. We ran. We ran up to the 1st floor without stopping. I noticed the policeman was holding the back of his neck in pain, so I asked him if I could take a look. And what I saw? I was so confused. There was a deep, dark bruise forming. He said it felt like somebody punched him really hard in the neck. But I was there. Nothing could have possibly hit him. He went home after that. I walked back up to the 6th floor, and Cassandra came up to me. I think she could tell that something was wrong. "What happened down there?" I couldn't speak. I was still trying to make sense of what just happened. Oh my God, did Randall do something? "Randall? Who's Randall?" Cassandra paused and took a breath. "There's something I need to tell you. Ever since you started working here, there's this guy, and, well, He really seems to like you. You mean someone who works here? What does this have to do with anything? He's not alive. I think he's a veteran. Well, was. But, he's not around you all the time, but he follows you around here a lot. So much so that the rest of the staff is scared to come near you. Like he's always putting his arm around you. What? He just seems really protective of you. I think he might have been jealous that you were alone with that policeman down there. I just stared at her. Cass, you know I love your ghost stories, but I don't find this funny. Her expression remained the same. I'm sorry. I never wanted to say anything because I figured he was harmless, but it seems like he's got it bad.
And now, more